Radio Mannin, Radio Mannin. Badi yn sylwion y balacobyn.
Gilg Jew, Gilg J as Gilg Nerach.
Showed you Claare na Gaels, but while I'm sure Shaltacha. My name is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Did the ever hear tell of old Bobby Bob?
And you're very welcome to this programme, Claare na Gael, with a thread in the English language, as leis Snaisa Gilg, and with a thread in the Manx Gaelic, Chinian Amera, the mother tongue of Ellen Vanning, the Isle of Man. As Bannacht and Jurish, in Dorothy Manley's collection Fairies Ground, Homely Tales, our second story is The Farmer, and it's focusing on one of the 6 strapping Crigeen boys, Joshua, known as Joss by this time, who went at the age of 14 to work on the farm of Charlie Willie. By now, though, he's grown to be a 21-year-old man. To Jonathan as mina haak a tannachten ons tai benrich en early Seward, gauwsten a Firelia gold de geddenmaag mechion a beda, Ert and Count Dracula a chiaull a maag mushavadra and the Morishen, de Gael Lunningrish. Now, after the debacle last time at the start of the programme, we're definitely going to start with Mannin Folk and their version of Ramsey Town. Tashu geestiach rish Radio Vanning, Stashu na Nashun, Viscol Scalia Maag, Waidulish, Alan Vanning.
'Twas once I loved a lass, I swore I loved her true, and that did I, so long as we held Ramsey still in view, and that did I, so long as we held Ramsey still in view. Ramsey town, shining by the sea, here's a hail to my true lover, wheresoe'er she be. Her hair was like the gold, her eyes like clouds were grey. We sailed away from the blazing sun all on a summer's day. We sailed away from the blazing sun all on a summer's day. Ramsey town, shining by the sea, here's a hail to my true lover, wheresoe'er she be. My heart is not so small to stop at one good lack. I love 'em all for 20 such grey eyes or brown or black. I love 'em all for 20 such grey eyes or brown or black. Ramsey town, shining by the sea, here's a hail to my true lover, wheresoe'er she be. Ramsey town, shining by the sea.
Mannin Folk and Ramsey Town. W.H. Gill used a traditional tune which we heard in the verses there. He was surprised when E. Crabb's words for it used what Gill had written as a filler between the verses, a symphony I suppose, into that catchy chorus. Now, before Joss's arrival at Charlie Willie's farm, much of the work fell to Charlie Willie's daughter Alice. A new curate, the Reverend Percival Thrush, arrives in the parish from England and arranges a dance. Alice hasn't been asked to dance that night, so the reverend gentleman singles her out and they dance together, and before the dance is over, Alice has fallen head over heels in love with Mr. Thrush. And thereafter she gives him some eggs from the farm. In return he gives her a posy of flowers tied up with a ribbon. Thereafter then Alice takes to leaving bits and pieces for Mr. Thrush on a stile by the house where he's lodging. And in return she keeps finding wild flowers and berries and such like on the stile. Alice is aghast, though, when the Reverend Thrush announces his pending marriage to a girl from England. However, she decides she'll leave one last gift on the stile for him, and not just for him, but for his bride as well. She returns to the farm, but then the seventh Cregeen son, Matthew, arrives. Now, unlike his brothers, Matthew has a small physique, and he has a manner that's brought him the nickname Fairy, which gives his name to this collection, which Dorothy Manley is actually telling as a male narrator. O'Shaw as Lior la Jonathan Harker. Genel mina is mich riw a lordrische chelia fos machon a treir a hit. Shed on furchten dagen an allu is na firelia, lug na ronsig an ok. Tan le rai shad na stavi na vami riws munion odach le rai mahan rish, she tri a chlagnish. Lior le mina haga en chwegu le jar a fawr kweg PM. A chagla mine son Toursel, Kion Fenish, an Ollu van Helsing, an Charn Godalming, an Fairly Seward, Manje Quincey Morris, Jonathan Harker, Mina Harker. Hug en Fairly van Helsing kunte jay na bajint fijn leid de redden machen long as een red wie gol or even skepeelgint egen Count Dracula. No de rauw vissem de rauwe gierie kaas na bakkes Transylvania, as een allu, van mi gennacht en shigge de berg femer gol rispiel de Danube, na rispol enjach se woer goo, no de wel shenne red renne chit. She volmage drieveroin. Now, this is credited to the Annie EBREL quartet, but it's mainly Breton singer Annie who's here singing away, but she's later joined by some percussion.
Big bass med skvarne vellare regos. Krage big bass med skvarne vellare regos. Pema gwellen Marie Jean tralalalalalalalo. Tralalalere la bas voir la ruengos. Pema gwellen Marie Jean tralalalere la bas voir la ruengos. Hiere o roi sadine mere anive. Hiere o roi sadine mere anive. Evido ver con ganti tralalalalalalalo. Tralalalere la neuien che dendoare. Evido ver con ganti tralalalalo. Lalledere la neuien che dendoare. Tralaledere la 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 mespere doit genere non di bimeron. E vi clascare me va je fara la 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 l'ore con to con Marie-Jean. E chiani me gaschette na bas me sein me boto. A me honen basen in fara la 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 huite la da cano. Wakker pepel goede, waar zijn je kanoën? Ik was vaak geweest, kan ook la 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 la, wat je skaden wen. Na me horen aan tato, waar zit me boto? lumpy, la de down, la down, low, down, la de de la la, my welcome, my letter. Nothing's prompted the one beat, I came and I love one. Meaning que qui m'a eu non, la de down, la down, low, la de la la la, de belle Marie-Jean. La la de la 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 de de la la down low, down de 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 down, down la 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 la, la 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 down low, la de la 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 de de la la la, la de la 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 de de la 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 la, down de down la la, down de down la down low.
Breton singer Annie EBREL and Danse He. Omne ignotum pro magnifico, tan olw de grey. Sjen de grede wel sly gien de chuljurid nach njoondau, maar fivoer, de wel sly moedige en ginu raur rid in orru ne wel visok. As me so, doet nallu. Les kriegen trom, tashin goldtuig der feathen maakt na lungen ren vergeel son een woer raar. Wij ons long kiaull, noder en wens mine, ginstun mech jon sjoil gulle troggel. Canel Hudson chuscan sjoil as de gold stiach ons rolle de lingus ons the times, as me so tashin gol, trud corle jarn Godalming, gus a choloch lloyds jou. Bol ter a cortes je uljun ling te sjole, creer bich op beg. Ons sjen tashin feathen maag na rauwach onlong va gol lesje boer goe, gol maag lesje tide. Shean Zarina Catherine, as renny sjole vai Kay Doolittle de gol lesh varna, as vai Shen Roig as Urgin Elia as Sousa Danube. Alice tried to shoo Fairy off with the rake, but he just stood there grinning broadly. You come with Fairy, miss, he said at last. Fairy'll show. And he started to run backwards and forwards like a dog wanting her to follow. Clutching the rake for protection, Alice trudged after him over the big field and down to the stile. Her box was still there on the stile where she'd placed it. Fairy put his fingers to his lips and pointed. Down the lane came Jos Crageen. In his hand he carried a spray of rowan berries. He picked up the box from the stile and put the berries in its place. Alice, after a moment of stunned realization, leapt out at him with a loud cry. "What jail of yours is this, Jos Crageen?" she shouted, lunging at him with the rake. "I'll be after having the hide off your back with this." But Jos was a man now. He dodged the rake and caught it smartly in one hand, and Miss Alice in the other. "Howl on now, lass," he said. Alice burst into tears. "All them flowers," she cried, "all of them, from you!" The Rachel Hare Trio playing a piece by James Scott Skinner, the Duke of Fife's Welcome to Deeside. Rachel has been very busy right over the weekend, seeing all her young harp students at the Culture Vannin headquarters in St John's. Couldn't help but notice that yesterday when the Celtic Congress had an excellent walk led by James Franklin of Culture Vannin, and he saw all the young students going in and out. Stasiwn yn asiwnt y radio Vanning sé Claare and Gael tas Rachlash and Cartnish, Meron Peen, Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Have you heard tell of our Bobby Bob?
For the issue Clash and Claare and Gael jint more podcast vis vergeten nasty in the Dega radio Vanning heen, na vaien reich here the podcast jou, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Audible, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, na Alexa. De Claare and Gael reclash and rishacht and look jiggle scale maag and geert truut in het egger radio vanning as raigi eragert as de enema Claare gedden Rolo and Shen. Aye, said Joss, from me and Fairy. He plucked them, you see. But I told him to and what he should fetch. Fairy knows every wild flower you can put a name to in this island, and where to find 'em. What do I care about that, Joss Crageen? Wailed Alice. You fooled me, the two of yous. You let me think. No, Miss Alice. You let yourself think. Joss had found his tongue at last. Didn't come easy to me, neither, but I didn't want you let down sudden like. And why should you care? Asked Alice between sobs. Ah, well. Joss scraped his boots in the dust. It was now or never. Oh, well, I was after hoping, you see, that you'd get round to thinking of me. You, Joss Crageen? Alice's voice was full of scorn. And what would you want with me, say for to batter yourself? Alice McCree, said Joss softly, I can think of better ways of making me fortune than working for your da. And if you did take me, like as not I'd lose me wages. He'd want me to do all the work for nothing at all, like yourself. Ma saw, Remy Gray, shoch and long as tan count. Ma saw Shullian gus Kay Doolittle. As unshen tushin fedden dunyo and shamerig as foy, beg de wel een dunyo jean de wein a smoon and shamerig. Jason tushin braiach mechan vergeel as Arina Catherine. They gwie mollacht an de moor, as essen jurgs en edden, as urse gereich, den a wun je mine jai shen. As treid a Quincey co-riddenach vaien fogege, ren frappel, gaus ren e rolle souse, as core ons poge go beg te volge de downs en edach egge, te fos no wun je share as nichar went dimly done. Te chit meren, as te braiach je immer die denje te gar was che, Tad Sean and Dania share train wel pairs are on the soldier. Tad grey mouraine fool as nog yon weem of lair. As je ridden alien wel me tiggle, gair de wat co cheber a won jou. Ach na jai tad ginch don all you na ridden tashin lal tiggle. Now this is Welsh singer Mared with a song about intuition or instinct, a rheddiv.
Mae'n hwsyn fachan ac mae fy nghref sy'n iawn. Profiadol, mae'r golau'n llifo fewn ac yn fyny'r chaffi, a rwan ti'n anobeithio, a doedd be o'n i'm yn gwybod, ddim am rai y pwer i rai, sy'n meddwl fod nhw'n fy nabod, yn fy gweld fel hedyn brai, a dwi'n gweld rwan ei bod nhw mor man, mae'n hwsyn fachan ac mae fy nghref sy'n iawn troi diffiniad gwerthfawr i sy'n werthu gweithredu heb gysidro fod fy nghalon yn hyn na dim dy gynnyrch di yw yr alaw hon ac mae fy nghref sy'n iawn a do be o'n i'm yn gwybod ddim am rai y pwer i rai sy'n meddwl fod nhw'n fy nabod yn fy gweld fel hedyn brai, a dwi'n gweld rwan ei bod nhw mhob man, mae'n hwsyn fachan ac mae fy nghref sy'n iawn.
She's Mared Williams, in fact. She's a singer from Llanedydd near Conwy, so she's a gog, and there she sang the song Y Reddf. Tad corff ystwn y mastoc, yn ach fast y jay, mwys queg ar y chlag, ta dynia chittys chwistryser, dynia liawr siang glas, leis erd stroen ys figlin cho ben, a súlian, ta gian de fe losta. Drawe de bollach ons doe. Ach, de wel erdege as koenlach, de wel koei desen het een trei. Der is skeelje mach en eugedege ons juno breil te sairach een lung vi sjole lesje woer goe, as les kreien wol. Ren kiusjau cor leshkus a chamerig as eshkus a lung, bol nach jinnach guller boer, dach stappel leg a chion a tollo jane voer chosja, as breich de jinnach een captain chit day. Ten captain chit, treve in chit day, de jinne geek de mai. As gerder en gwi mollacht en de moer eg a toyacht, te cordeel verjere, de wel e cordeel rish conant. Esht en dunje sjaan gol, as te pech en jach ginstemmig on bol, weg able de gedden kabel as kaart er mel. Alice recognized the truth in this. She looked hard at Joss. He wasn't handsome, like the Reverend Percival Thrush, nor easy in his manner. But then neither was she. And he was a big, strong figure of a man, and a girl could do worse. Well, give us them roans then, Joss Cregeen, she said pertly, and we'll see. Joss handed over the berries, and they regarded each other steadily. Perhaps Joss was thinking that one day he might get up enough courage to kiss her. Alice's thoughts were more practical. "What'll we do with the kitten?" she asked. "Put him back in the barn." "No, we'll give him to Fairy," said Joss. "He's got a gran love of little creatures, and I reckon he's earned it." A year later, Joss and Alice were married. In chapel, of course, Alice having taken quite an aversion to the church. and many years later Charlie Willie died. And that is how, rewarded for his patience in the goodness of time, Joshua Cregeen came to farm Charlie Willie's. Now, American singer-songwriter Steve Earle wrote the song Galway Girl, much popularised in a version he made with Sharon Shannon. This, though, is a version in the Irish language, Kiaull na Gael, by Mundy.
Well, the hug me cusser and shulod more heart there Lauren lay. It's the fool me le Colin Brado who agus hussam Merrick play. Agus neither lum caught a yucky yarn. Then a grui called dub is a sula gurum. I call me along, hug me rink day. Agus fog me Colin the Gallivant. Nor a duskel spare ni a steny in sunlay. Agus written with she's quick a song or bug on lay. Agus neither lum could a yucky arm. Len a grui called dove is a sula gurum. I call me along, hug me rinky day. Agus fog me Colleen a Gallivant. Well, the goosig me agus melum fein dog she me aye. Le me creeverish de vi pin lashle. Agus neither lum call a Harlin Lynn. Nor a customer le Sean Colin Shin. Ta fecan Gael and it. Ach ni le heid le Colin na Gallivant.
Steve Earle's song Galway Girl, and there we heard an Irish language version of it, Kiaull na Gael, by Edmund Enright, who performs under the name Mundy from his first name there, Edmund. The third of Dorothy Manley's homely tales is called The Lawyer. Our village was nothing very grand, you'll understand, just a knot of houses round the church, and a school, and a bit of a main street straggling between a few shops. Kelly's grocers, and Farragher's sweets, Cowan's the butcher's, the post office, a handy shop that sold everything from buttons to dolly tubs, and Jonah's. The school wasn't anything very grand either, chapel architecture and a barn-like interior with wooden partitions, a handful of children from the village and the rest from the scattered hill farms beyond. But that school might have been Harrow itself when I was placed in charge of it. So proud I was to come home to my island, schoolmaster. Jonah was the first to shake me by the hand. That took me back to the cottage where I was born, to the memory of the 6 brothers thundering about next door. Well, it didn't do to put on style on this island after all. We all knew each other too well. Take Olga sen as the leer te chitrish, as a heen gimman cart urita kistjamur, as an shaw te eschen heen troggle noos. Geda wel femer kustjau korea kurt lau gus verder. Te moerein lord as egger is je captain mechion an acht as a balt en kistjegger de wee courage. Ach, Chamai leis a captain as they gwi mollachten ons immer die gleidigen, as ginst they me bewai leis de wat they chitters vragen a ball bier. Ach te grei, chamai, na valley chitpos, a fair to moeraner yinwega. Sort and captain ginst they de bell as ginu sire, leis fool, son de gin a long egger for Gael the ball shaw, leis fool, raw shall yiggin, leis fool. Ashton dun je shang munga as grey de duchesach, de lizere gol tret e kunte kuia, ach de bejindes me wisse gol chwish gelia. Tan captain gwi mollachten rish polyglot, as ten dun je shang kromerosh as ko buiste. Two accordions from Padstow, Ray Delph and Jim Pengelly, sadly both no longer with us, and they were joined there in playing music for Cornish dance group Cam Cernuec by Nigel Nethersole, Mike Hartland, Merv Davey and Peggy Morris.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Siodiw stasiwn yn asiwn radio banning, si Claare na Gael vis verklaas na getreton, mish Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Have I heard tell of old Bobby Bob?
Take instant captain de Ginny Brishes Sjach Huisher a Hingelis egge, as de hitte boer roos te sjale. Verjeret en captain, as een a stjurgen of a rieuw, as ons tulju glerigen, ginst de na valley giri frangacher bij, tam of les les foolnies, so long egge, les foolorinies. As me so, look de braiach me gian bol fagus de weg longangi de gianne gevormen de giole, renne for Gael. Herauf is eg pecher bij a red renne gol. Oh, blooming well cared, mother'd grey. A fair ver riddenach elioch de smuljenair. My les fool niet riche. No de renne chit de bij hagen oxen olju. Nach ginna gezarine Catherine Shalom over a jerkage. Ren ke tanna gol toiach der snaususen awin. As renne troggelurri. Derre de leer ren frucht chew, fille me giert along as olju me giert moi. Ren de captain gwi mollachten polyglot de moor, polyglot me vlaers les fool. There was always someone who could say just who your parents were, where you were born, and lest there was any doubt about it, how you came to be born at all. By this time Jonah had become a man of some importance in the village. He'd set up as a cobbler in a shop next door to the handy. It was a small shop, the walls lined with an untidy jumble of boot boxes, one chair for the customer, and a counter with a drop-down flap, behind which Jonah sat tapping at his last. It was a dark shop, but as the stock was mostly sturdy footwear made for rough farm roads, little salesmanship was needed. Jonah would simply point with his hammer to the most likely box on the crowded shelves, and the customer would help himself. The confined space and the gloom lent the place a special air, like that of a confessional, and many a story was told to Jonah over that counter to the gentle tapping of the hammer on the nails. In this way had Jonah become adept at giving advice and settling disputes. Well, a vision of the sea is what we have now, Aisling a Cheen, performed by Christine Tier.
More
gaat en nie, havel reale zon. Ostan kun seil shintan echta, gemachas soll es immerschen, ist dich blaunes agnis mu. Estig shiljon. Kirchen behelong, skenja noch unser dorkos, es nicht belchen kere, gilach makharischen lustia. Tosu, Godalming MANNIN FOLK, Ellen Egnach, Walter Bios Benjach. Jogan solas Phosphorausa, en hianos bani från green, chin rot chin de, tan långa sol, likas döjahon. Och hafilen tabjoben, unkänna rauskin bora, känner mjoma vänjach, gemachas vandabrak.
An archive recording of Christine Tier, but a mere 17-year-old there singing the song Ashling a Cheen, Sea Vision, with a tune by Nikolai Giovanelli and words by Mona Douglas. If you saw a fellow hanging about on the pavement outside the shop, waiting for the last customer to clear away, you could bet that he had more than a pair of new boots on his mind. And you see, this was all rather galling for Jonah's brother, Benjamin. For Benjamin was a lawyer. He'd been articled to an advocate up in Douglas Town, was fully qualified, licensed by the governor, and with a fine office in Athol Street and a shining brass plate on his door. And devil a client at all from our part of the world. And all the while there was brother Jonah sitting in his dim little shop, and arranging farm sales, settling rights of way, and drawing up wills in a manner that would break any honest lawyer's heart. But I forget, Benjamin did come down amongst us once, over the affair of the trespassing sheep it was. Looked the part too, he did, with his black jacket, with his pinstripe trousers and his folder of papers under his arm. Ach, dinna wist en a malach den egge, grauw vegre junnewegge. Ren en ustje, giri, as wij goil taart er wij burrich de berg en tijde kite egge de ballach. Grauw ons gien keurtjes ach gor erbij, tre kiat egge roort, ren en dunje shankchit soese woer kosje rish, as renne braiach de hagen de wal, van kistje egge er wij luchtit. Esh, ren de captain fregert de rawi giri de raweschen as a kistje egge, shan as moerein me blaes lesh fool, on snuren. Ach, rauw komus erbij de wij currit en dunje shang, as renne gol schies merischen chid weet, as renne fagen de bal wij currit, as renne chit nies, as wij na jadu rish tamelt er a loutse roog. Te jeen de renne chit vai na lummergen, son geren peger bij fagen, de jaru gerennet smunjen ersen. Verder leeuw renne roog goil toiach der leier soel, as wat de gulju rid clear rish. Well, now, les quatre gens take us to visit the Breton commune of Limerzel in Morbihan, where they have oxen with no ears and no tails.
À l'Immerzer, il y a des bœufs qui n'ont pas de cornes et qui n'ont pas de queue. À l'Immerzer, il y a des bœufs qui n'ont pas de cornes et qui n'ont pas de queue. On les conduit par les oreilles, ah les jolis bœufs de l'Immerzer. On les conduit par les oreilles, ah les jolis bœufs de l'Immerzer. À l'Immerzer, il y a des terrains que l'on laboure avec des chiens. À l'Immerzer, il y a des terrains que l'on laboure avec des chiens. On y fait pousser que de la ravenelle dans les jolis terrains de l'Immerzer. On y fait pousser que de la ravenelle dans les jolis terrains de l'Immerzer. À l'Immerzer, il y a des maisons qui n'ont ni toit ni fait ni pignon, dis donc. À l'Immerzer, il y a des maisons qui n'ont ni toit ni fait ni pignon. Ça sert de nid aux hirondelles, les jolies maisons de l'Immerzer. Ça sert de nid aux hirondelles, les jolies maisons de l'Immerzer. Il y a des jeunes filles, ah qu'elles sont belles, ah qu'elles sont gentilles. À l'Immerzer, il y a des jeunes filles, ah qu'elles sont belles, ah qu'elles sont gentilles. Elles ont des rubans et des dentelles, les jolies jeunes filles de l'Immerzer. Elles ont des rubans et des dentelles, les jolies jeunes filles de l'Immerzer. À l'Immerzer, il y a des garçons, ah qui sont beaux, ah qui sont mignons, dis donc. À l'Immerzer, il y a des garçons, ah qui sont beaux, ah qui sont mignons. Ils mangent soupe dans des écuelles, les jolis garçons de l'Immerzer. Ils mangent soupe dans des écuelles, les jolis garçons de l'Immerzer.
And that's Breton band Les Quatre Gens and a song about l'Immerzel, where the only plant that grows is the wild radish and where they use dogs to plough. So, an interesting place in Morbihan. Ren Mechurgeon Jane Fes, Jane Lortus Ve Mavlares leis Fúil, Gerachti. Chaus Ren and Gred are mollachten a captain skin shen van polyglot cargenegger, as van a spoon of a riw ledden de vree. Tref a feis and courage ag marni elie va gul soos noos en jouwen, sen noor shen, renne feather mach, na rauwach ferne ged jou en nag en monne de roch a chorer be, limme Jane vol vien a lime a giet gay. Benjamin had grown a dapper little moustache, I remember, under his big hooked Cragene nose, and he brought with him the coroner and the Deemster's warrant for swearing in a trespass jury. It was all because big Ned Farragut, Belaspit, had woken up one morning to find a small flock of sheep trampling down his field of barley. And we'll continue with this tale next time. Ach, Cartness Shene. Chris Pearson is waiting in the wings to bring you the best of chill-out music for your Sunday evening from 7 to 9. And then at 9 o'clock, Judith Lay will be here to present Sundown. We close with music by Scottish band the Tanhill Weavers, the title track, Orach, meaning abounding with gold, because it's from their Golden Anniversary album. Ach, tushin a jitgus jera Claare nish. And so until the next time then, this is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Owl Bobby Bob.
Wishing you a very good night. Eve, I'm a chri eriwliw as orter lie, as my yirian shared you.